McQuestion, for over 28 years talking about things that matter with people who care. Production of McQuestion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.
And does it seem to you as if every young person over 3 years old has a smartphone? And is that really smart? And is it really smart to allow them in school and in particular in the classroom? We'll answer these questions and also whether smartphones negatively affect a young person's brain. Here to help me communicate is my co-host, Jim Falk, CEO and President of the World Affairs Council of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Great to see you again, and I hope you're not going to take my phone away.
I'm not. I hope you turn it on stun for this program, however.
Stun?
Because because we have some really important people sitting over here. And on my left is Basma Yacoub. She's the Director of International Programs at a leading charter school. She's an experienced teacher in K-12 and has taught one-to-one middle school, which I'm going to ask you about in a bit, and flipped her classroom. You don't look that strong, Basma, but if you flipped your classroom, you say so, I believe you. We'll talk about that as well. Next to you is Leigh Richardson. She's a licensed professional counselor and the clinical director of the Brain Performance Center, which is dedicated to improving all aspects of brain and mental health. So Leigh, welcome to the program as well.
Thank you.
So what is the impact of these smartphones on brain performance and brain health?
Well, it's a lot more, you know, when you ask that question, people say, oh, I know, that blue light. That blue light's not healthy. It's a lot more than that blue light. You know, think about it. You take out that smartphone and you like it. You know, you're going to check your social media. You're going to check your emails. You're going to maybe even, who knows, check your bank account. So you start checking that social media and you like that. And the brain, whenever you do something that you really like, the brain starts kicking out this dopamine. And dopamine is a really feel-good neurotransmitter. And the more you do it, the more dopamine you kick out. Now, the problem with that is you've got these little nerve cells in the brain, and they get confused. You know, it starts off, I like this, I like doing this. And they get a little confused with all that dopamine. I want this, I want to do this. And then it goes to, I need this, I really, really need this. So whether it's a smartphone or an iPad, you know, the way that we look at addiction today is really different than it was 10 years ago when it was all drugs or alcohol.
Now we're going to be focusing mostly on kids today, but does that affect me too when I use the smartphone?
Absolutely.
My brain is being rewired?
Well, your brain may not have as much neuroplasticity as a kid's does.
That's a very, very nice
Was that
way
diplomatic?
To put that. That was very diplomatic.
But
yeah.
it can still impact it.
Yeah, and I guess it probably maybe, I mean, some people say there's some positive impact as well because we get to know things we didn't know quicker. Is that true?
Well, absolutely. You know, that's good, but that's bad. We live in an instantaneous world now. I want it, and I can get it. I can get it on my smartphone. But I think there's a dependency that I see occurring. When I have clients come in my office and, Miss Leigh, you have a cell phone charger? No. And I see a total meltdown. That's a red flag.
So do you have clients come in to be treated for addiction to technology?
Well, they come in for anxiety or depression because there's a lot of co-occurring things going on. But those with anxiety, the first thing they ask for is that cell phone charger. FOMO, fear of missing out.
Wow. Now, Basma, you've been in the classroom, you're very young, I don't know how long. You've been in the classroom, your experience, let's put it that way, even though you don't look at. So your students use some sort of technology. Tell us what they use and tell us what this one-to-one, is that how you say it? Tell us what that means.
So one-to-one means that for each student there's a piece of technology, whether it be a Chromebook or an iPad or a cell phone. I've used one-to-one in my classroom, one-to-one technology in my classroom in various ways. And what I've seen is that it enhances learning. So it gives them opportunities that I wouldn't be able to give to them in my traditional classroom setting.
Is this your own decision, or is this across your school?
I've had it done with my whole school, but I've also had my personal classroom use personal devices so that students can enhance their learning.
Would you say enhance their learning? Does that mean then that the students are not allowed to check their social media during the class?
That's correct. It's I have strict policies in my classroom for using technology.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. How do you
sure.
monitor that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well-
Okay. No, Miss Basma. No. I'm following you. I'm taking some notes. I'm looking at what you sent me last night, but don't look over my shoulder.
Well, I'll tell you that my first year, cell phones were not allowed in my classroom. My first year teaching back in 2007, cell phones were not allowed in my classroom.
What grade are you teaching? Or were teaching at that
I
point?
was teaching high school at that time, so I was teaching 10th graders. And so they were working on, my students were working on an activity in groups, and so they were discussing something, and I was walking around making sure that students were on task, and I saw a student with an earpiece on, and it looked like he was having a discussion, but I realized he was just having a conversation on the phone. So from that day, I learned that it's very important to closely monitor your students, and even if they're not allowed to use them, they can.
Well, you don't know this, but I teach in the classroom as well on the college level.
Yes.
I don't let them use an iPad, smartphone, laptop, any of that stuff in the classroom. What do you think about that? Is that pretty tough on my part or no?
I think if they're not going to use the technology for an educational purpose, then they shouldn't be using it. But if there's an educational purpose for them using it.
But they always say, I'm using it for an educational purpose. Professor McQuestion, I'm taking notes on my iPad. And I go, that's interesting when it looks as if you're playing a computer game on there. I am shocked about how this works. Do you believe this? And now, obviously, these are not students that came from your classroom. They would have been better behaved, right? But it's the guys who are usually the worst, but not always. And so the guys, so they have a desk like this and a desk like this, and they're sitting there, and I can always tell when they're actually doing something with their phone. You know, so they're always looking down at the time as opposed to looking at me.
Right.
Now, do people cheat with using these devices, Leigh? Possibly?
Well, when you get very dependent upon that device as your major lifeline, you know, that's where your mom texts you, be outside, I'm coming to get you. That's where you can look at your social media and see how many likes you got. It's really hard, you know, to put it down. How many adults can put their phone down? Go into a restaurant and look around. You'll see a table of 4. Will you see anybody talking to anybody?
How many couples are doing that on their anniversary night?
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to tell you a funny story because I don't think you know this story, and I know you ladies don't. Think about this, what you were saying, and I ask you folks in the audience, think about this too. We often walk into a restaurant, particularly if it's a cafeteria, let's say, and there's typically an older couple sitting by themselves. You got this? Older couple sitting by themselves. How often have we seen an older couple sitting by themselves and who never have a word of conversation during the whole meal? You know what I'm talking about? That's the way it's done, older couples, you know, like you and your wife. No, hold on.
Thank you so much.
Now,
you still got more to the story?
Oh, no.
All right.
So this is today's version. So I have this cartoon, and this young couple is in, they're sitting at a table and they're texting each other back and forth. And there's another young couple at another table over here, and this couple's texting each other back and forth. You said, you see that young couple over there? They haven't texted each other one time during dinner. Something is wrong. So that's today's world, you know?
But there must be a point in time and an age or a certain period of hours. I mean, do you recommend that you can, to parents, let your children use a smartphone at a certain age for X number of hours?
I think that the smartphone should be used when there's a need for it. In some families, if you have a single mom or a single dad, that child may need that phone as a way of communication.
But it
you
doesn't
don't
have
need
to be
a
a smartphone, right?
Exactly. We're talking the same language here. You can get a phone that is nothing more than a phone for $2.99 online, but there's a